There are cameras throughout the store, including here in the back office, up on the ceiling there, and it recorded the entire transaction. And if you look closely, you can actually see on the playback when the switch is made. Just when it appears that the whole deal is about to go south, the man in the baseball cap does a switch. Real gold for fake gold.
We're at the height of a commute home right now. You can see tons of cars coming toward me on Route 22. We wanted to show you how difficult it really is to pull onto 22 from some of these businesses and side streets. After waiting a while for a break in traffic, we pull out and floor it to the speed limit so we don't get rear-ended, which is the cause of most of the accidents here.
Maria Ortega has gas, so she is able to cook for herself. But every day, she buys ice to keep things fresh. Of course, without power, most of the things in her refrigerator spoiled, including her insulin, which she needs because she's a diabetic.
In Secaucus, getting around with one of these
U-turn in 0.5 miles.
just might mean making one of these. And neighbors say they are tired of watching the U-turns.
So this MapQuest gave you the wrong directions.
This guy's computer printout also steered him right into the neighborhood. Well, neighbors say the problem is worse at night and on the weekends. That is when hundreds of shoppers trying to get to some nearby outlet malls here all hit the very same roadblock. All of them end up right here at this big metal gate.
Neighbors both inside and outside the complex say they heard multiple gunshots fired around 1 o'clock Monday afternoon, and they say they've heard gunshots come from here before, but never this many at once.
Since their home is now unlivable and so much work remains to be done, they have moved outside. Literally, I am standing in what passes as the kitchen and family room. Off here to my left, the bedrooms.
The conditions in this mine, cold and wet, but the obvious difference, this mine, instead of coal, miners dug for zinc. But the work was no less dangerous. The Sterling Hill mine stopped operations in 1986 and has since become a museum with Ruby telling the history of the zinc mine and how the mineral is used to make tires or as a coating for steel fencing to keep it from rusting. And that's the big difference between this mine and the one in West Virginia.
Now, at a real crime scene, I, as a news reporter, would never be allowed behind this yellow crime scene tape, one of the many important lessons that these students are learning not only as part of this class, but as their final exam.
This drone has a software setting that keeps it from going above 400 feet. That's the limit allowed by the FAA. If you're wondering what 400 feet looks like, we'll show you.
At 400 feet, we are specks on the ground.
I'm standing at about the halfway point of the very long parking lot that sits behind Branch's Catering. Now, both men who found Mr. Schmidt say that afternoon this parking lot was empty. But they say if it had been full, they doubt they would have heard him across this distance.
When Kim first got the plates put on her Chrysler convertible 4 years ago, no problem. But now, well, someone's biatching about it.
Well, witnesses describe a crazy scene with this car pinballing back and forth across the road. They say it ran into at least 2 cars in the row you see right behind me here, and then it slammed into this Honda, spinning out of control and coming to a rest right across the street.
The very idea makes a lot of people's skin crawl. Here in Middlesex County, people are upset and appalled to hear that somebody has been going into cemeteries and stealing human remains, possibly for use in some kind of dark ritual.
Well, district officials told parents at this special meeting that the FBI has been called in to investigate 5 separate threats made against this very building.
And it's not just paper, it's books too. Here's a couple from the school library, beat up and battered. You wouldn't expect this at a national school of excellence.
You'd have to throw 20 of these tablets into this million-gallon Olympic-sized pool, mix it all up really well, and then drink 50,000 gallons of that water to get a single dose of ibuprofen. That's a lot of water.
Believe it or not, we're here in the shop and it is 87 degrees. There is no AC installed in here. So even though these guys are in the business of keeping cool, they're sweating it out just like the rest of us.
Well, police know the teens made it into the backyard by breaking this fence and kind of squeezing their way inside. They think some of them could have stayed in the house for as long as 2 or 3 days.
Something else the city wants people to know is that signs like these prey on folks in trouble and are in fact illegal to post. And that's exactly why the task force has been going around the city ripping down signs like this one found on abandoned homes and on telephone poles.
and we're going to try to hold more of them accountable because they actually have phone numbers on them.
Here at the Express Fuel on Route 27 in Edison, $3.65 a gallon cash. Now that's a pretty good deal, considering that the price of gas was hovering around the $4 a gallon mark not long ago.
As you can see, a makeshift memorial now stands in the exact spot where Carter was gunned down. And now the folks here in Plainfield have a message.
Officer Freeman doesn't think the dog tried to jump over the fence, which is located right off of Route 22 here in Newark. He thinks somebody actually tried to throw her over it.
Investigators say the first shooting happened right across from this cemetery on Stuyvesant Avenue, right outside of this restaurant. They say the victim, a man from Elizabeth, actually drove himself to an area hospital, but the shootings did not end here.
A lot of it is changed in an instant with basically a flip of a switch, but a lot is also done by hand. Every flag, every banner, and even things like these bumpers that surround the light posts have to go from gangrene to big blue and back.
Now, I walked through these woods searching around looking for these turkeys, but they didn't show their faces after this alleged attack.
For some, business may be back to normal, but there's still a lot of evidence of the hardships going on out here at the Jersey Shore. Here, let me show you. Out here on Ocean Avenue, vacant lots and broken walls on virtually every block here in Ortley Beach.
People are definitely worried at this point that they're going to pass an AR ban, that they're going to make these guns not legal, moving forward.
Normally, the gun rack here at RTSP is completely full, but sales began to take off almost immediately after the shooting in Connecticut. Normally, they sell 10 to 15 long guns a month. They've sold more than 50 since Friday.
Well, this roadway is plowed for the most part, but of course, like many localities, it means snow is getting pushed to the edge, and in this case, snow and ice were pushed to the side into handicap parking spaces, sealing these cars in and making many other spaces difficult to navigate.
But not everyone agrees with this $1 sale. More than a few neighbors around here say the town selling this park to the county is giving away prime real estate at a bargain basement price.
Well, Thanksgiving tradition dictates that you have the Detroit Lions and Dallas Cowboys playing on Thanksgiving Day. But for the past couple of years, we have also seen a green MetLife Stadium as the Jets have hosted a game.
But others wonder if cutting the few hours of Saturday service would help save the entire postal system sometime down the road.
Borough officials say the situation still remains somewhat precarious, and they point to that manhole. They say the only thing holding it in place are those old tree stumps and roots. If those give way, so goes the manhole.
The first thing I want to show you is some of the bunting and things that are set up on the walls. A lot of this Ron actually made by hand, and he just hangs it up himself. It takes him hours. Even the streamers on the ceiling.
Associated Humane Societies is right now building a large coop for all of these pigeons. It plans to feed and water them, check them out, and then eventually just open the doors and let them go.
Well, Roxanne, we were in Trenton and Princeton where there were 90 degrees all over the place, but it felt like 100 in many different locations. The heat was heavy and weighed on many people that were outside.
Looking at the waves right now, it's a little bit dark and hard to tell, but it's about 8 feet right now, so the winds are also picking up. And, it also really put a damper on business this Labor Day weekend.
The money was stolen from Alcazar Bakery here in Elizabeth.
An unusual sight on a Middlesex County beach. Take a look at this. A young pilot whale has washed up near Perth Amboy. Take a look at this video from News 12 New Jersey photojournalist eric.simnor. He was able to get past the large crowds that had gathered as rescuers worked to free the beached whale. We are told that marine wildlife experts from the southern part of the state are on their way to the scene to try to free the whale. Until then, we're told the whale cannot be moved. Wow, that's something else, huh? Yeah. Well, still to come here on News 12 New Jersey.
According to this 21-page complaint, Avalon Bay should have seen it coming. The suit alleges the Maryland-based real estate company knew or should have known the risk of fire during construction and knew or should have known that the risk was increased when using lightweight wood construction and or allowing a blowtorch to be used in close proximity to these flammable materials. Fire officials said last week's fire at the Avalon at Edgewater apartment complex was accidental, sparked by maintenance workers making plumbing repairs with a blowtorch, then waiting 15 minutes to call 911 after their own attempts to douse the fire had failed. The The chief also cited the use of lightweight construction methods as a contributing factor in the fast-moving fire.
The unsolicited bags, dropped as often as once a week, have met the wrath of Ridgewood's mayor. He calls the bags an unfair burden to residents.
They are right outside my door, so every time I open it, I'm usually kicking them to the side, and he typically is also standing all over them.
Marguerite Pumphrey and John McLaren were teenagers in love, but not ready to be parents when Marguerite became pregnant. The baby girl, who was born in August of 1961, was given up for adoption. The couple later married and had 3 more children, but never revealed their secret.
And to keep a secret like this, a real true blood, sibling, how could you keep that from your own children?
It wasn't until 3 months ago when Gene Johnson of Indiana reached out to McLaren's uncle that James, his brother John, and sister Polly learned they had a big sister. Comparing old family photos to pictures Gene shared over Facebook, the 3 siblings were struck by the resemblance, especially to their mother.
Thursday morning around 7 o'clock, one resident noticed an officer ticketing every single vehicle parked on the street. The ticket blitz was on 4 blocks of Grand Street from Elmora to Cherry, where parking meters begin.
I ran out in pajamas trying to move my cars, and he still gave me a ticket because I couldn't move the other car on time.
Signs went up only Wednesday, according to Yesenia Vega.
$47 for a ticket. How much money did Elizabeth make today?
In Elizabeth, John Bathke, News 12, New Jersey.
We found Biggie the Bulldog and his mom, Rachel, enjoying our second snow of the season, playing on the Morristown Green.
He does love the snow. He does. I'm not excited to get snow this early, but I do like the snow as long as I'm not driving in it.
And Biggie, well, he loves it. It was a decent snowfall in this part of New Jersey, enough to shovel and perfect for packing. And here on the green, the snow is just what they needed to make this winter wonderland even more wonderful, as long as it isn't a sign of our winter to come.
It gets you into the holiday spirit. You know, everybody's nicer. People are stopping, saying hi, looking at the snow, taking pictures. It's really nice.
Fierro says he left work Tuesday, heard cries for help, and checked behind the lot, finding Schmidt in ice.
I saw this man like checking, and not bushes, but the branches, and like, I'm not gonna make it, I'm not gonna make it.
He called his colleague Carlos Reyes, and they both scaled a mini mountain of ice and knocked down fences to get Schmidt to emergency crews.
I think God was with us and with him, because he heard, you know, it's really far.
I'm standing at about the halfway point of the very long parking lot that sits behind Branch's Catering. Now, both men who found Mr. Schmidt say that afternoon this parking lot was empty, but they say if it had been full, they doubt they would have heard him across this distance.
You're not going to believe this, but I got a carrier that's being attacked by wild turkeys, won't let him deliver the mail. Where? On Esplanade Drive.
The people of Esplanade Drive are used to turkeys ruffling their feathers. They haven't called 911, but admit the turkeys pick targets, but usually not the mail carrier.
They do get very large, like raptor-like almost, so you can only imagine that when they come towards you.
The Tuesday attack on the postal worker and the police response have made the turkeys a running, or maybe trotting, joke on Esplanade Drive. Now, I walked through these woods, searching around, looking for these turkeys, but they didn't show their faces after this alleged attack.
Middlesex County authorities suspect the recent grave robberies are the work of people involved in a non-traditional religious practice. They haven't named any group or cult, but Palomayambi followers have been linked to grave thefts in Newark.
4 cases between September and December netted troopers more than 130 pounds of wholesale heroin. Wholesale worth $5 million, but street value between 15 and 30 mil.
He was arrested and charged with driving while intoxicated, careless driving, and for having an open container of alcohol. State police say the incident is pending court and a parallel internal investigation has been started. Roadside was officially suspended without pay today. He is a 28-year veteran of the force. After the crash, he had to hand over his gun and was arrested.
All that spinning is what helps auto shops turn snow and ice into dollars and cents. In Freehold, I'm John Kleekamp, News 12, New Jersey.
And sometimes you do things to be funny. You don't really look into consequences of everything that you do.
You have to treat each other with more respect and more privacy.
Lessons learned in a case with hard consequences. In New Brunswick, Dave Grunebaum, News 12, New Jersey.
This is News 12, New Jersey.
I don't have a dress. Like, it's not, like, I need a new one. I need to find one, you know?
Dress stress.
Girls burned by a beleaguered boutique in Wayne are scrambling to find something else to wear in time for their proms.
He was calling my daughter too. The last call that my daughter received was like 12 at night, and he was saying, "Do you know where your mom is? She's dead."
A killer's cruel taunts, calling and texting his victim's family just hours after authorities say he choked the life out of a Newark mother. Well, tonight there's been an arrest. We thank you for joining us here on News 12 New Jersey.
You can see the swelling to Sergeant Ian Dubak's nose and the side of his face, the result of a brutal surprise attack outside Zarco Lounge in Passaic.
He was knocked unconscious. He suffered a broken nose.
Not one witness has come forward. Police say Sergeant Dubak was wearing plainclothes but pulled up to the scene in a large, marked SUV.
He was approached in the middle of the street by a black male who indicated he had got jumped and actually showed the officer his lip.
For reasons unknown, the man then turned and ran. Sergeant Dubak gave chase, but both men tripped on this concrete parking block and crashed to the pavement behind a dumpster.
I think I'm still going.
Phyllis Diamond is anxious to get to the Caribbean aboard the Celebrity Silhouette and isn't worried that some of the last passengers on this ship came down with the norovirus. Have you ever gotten sick?
No, never.
The norovirus causes vomiting and diarrhea and lasts up to 60 hours, which can turn a trip into no pleasure cruise.
I can't go and hug my son. I can't tell him I love him. I can't do none of that stuff.
Her son's convicted killer, Anthony Rose, was sentenced Tuesday to 25 years in prison. Miriam was hoping for much more. Now she hopes the man who took her son from her takes his time in jail to think about what he did.
Bruce Santos Jr. just wanted to get home after a hard day's work at Newark Liberty Airport. Authorities say he was waiting at this bus stop on Broad Street when a guy with a gun tried to rob him. There was a struggle, then a shot. Bruce Jr. was the eldest of 3 sons, a fitness buff poet and artist who was never in trouble with the law, a fact confirmed by police.
The perfect presents for the pets and the human volunteers who watch out for them. In Linden, Marcy Rubin, News 12, New Jersey.
Merry Christmas, everybody! What a party inside the Hasbrook Heights Elks Club. Children of all ages dancing their hearts out, having their faces painted, or just running around at a holiday party meant for families in need.
In the middle of all this holiday fun, some of the stories are really heartbreaking, including that of a little boy who's got a mysterious illness.
It's just very hard for me because I can't move and I have pain everywhere around all my body.
11-year-old Ryan Clancy may be in a wheelchair, but he's still dancing to the music. He's been paralyzed for 9 months. Doctors don't know why.
A surfer and eventually divers with the NYPD helped to find them. All 7 victims were recovered and accounted for. However, 2 victims have been pronounced deceased. Those 2 men have been identified as 66-year-old Alex Osachi and 74-year-old Grigory Klokishner, both from Philadelphia. As for the other 5 men on board, police say none suffered any life-threatening injuries. In Manasquan, Chris Keating, News 12, New Jersey.